This science-based sleep story gently guides the listener through the quiet wonders of photosynthesis, not as a textbook concept, but as a living, breathing process that touches every moment of life. Through metaphor, rhythm, and wonder, we explore how light becomes life, how leaves whisper with memory, and how your breath is part of a green symphony stretching back billions of years. You are lying still, and the world around you begins to soften. There is no rush now, just quiet, just breath and warmth, gentle warmth, pressing against your skin, even behind your closed eyes. You feel it on your face, like the hush of a whisper, not in words, but in warmth. This is sunlight. But not just sunlight, this is ancient sunlight. A gift from something that burns 93 million miles away. It feels like now. It feels like today. But the truth is, it began long before your moment. The story of photosynthesis begins not with a leaf, not with green, not even with earth. It begins with a star, one ordinary star among billions, but the one that makes everything here possible. And that star, your sun, is always singing, not in sound, but in light. Inside its golden heart, hydrogen atoms fuse into helium. This fusion releases energy, tremendous, roaring, glowing energy. That energy surges outward, layer by layer, until it reaches the surface of the sun, where it breaks free and travels. Each photon, each tiny particle of light, begins a journey not through time, not through history, but through space. 8 minutes. That's how long it takes for sunlight to reach your skin from the sun's surface. 8 minutes across the emptiness of space. No roads, no sound, just stillness and speed. So when you stand outside and lift your face toward the sun, when you close your eyes and feel that warmth, you are catching something that was born 8 minutes ago in the heart of a burning star. But that's only the last part of its journey. The photons that touch you now, the ones dancing on your face, your arms, the leaves just outside your window, they were created hundreds of thousands of years ago inside the sun. You see, it takes that long for light to travel from the core of the sun to its surface. Inside the sun, photons are born in violence. Nuclear fusion packs them with energy, then hurls them forward, but they don't move in a straight line. They bounce, collide, pause, turn. Imagine swimming through a crowd in darkness, bumping into everything around you. That is what it's like for a newborn photon in the heart of the sun. It might take 100,000 years just to reach the surface, and when it does, it leaves behind all that chaos and begins its final sprint. 8 minutes of flight. Then your cheek, your arm, a wall, a leaf, a lake, a cell. It finds a home. You are made of stardust, they say, and it's true. But you are also fueled by starlight. That light becomes everything you know as life. It enters your eyes as vision. It enters your skin as warmth. But most miraculously, it enters a leaf and becomes food, becomes breath, becomes structure, becomes the beating of a heart. Right now, maybe outside your window or in the garden beyond your street, a leaf is catching that very same light. Just as your skin receives warmth, the leaf receives energy. But it does something you cannot do. It captures the light, not just to feel it, but to transform it. The green of the leaf holds a secret, a hidden machine, not with gears and wires, but with molecules and meaning. Inside the leaf, inside its greenest parts, are chloroplasts, and inside each chloroplast there are pigments. One pigment in particular, chlorophyll, is like a net made of light's memory. It absorbs certain colors, mostly blue and red, and reflects green. That's why leaves look green to your eyes. But it's the colors you don't see, the ones absorbed, that hold the key. The leaf is not just reflecting sunlight, it is using it, taking in the photons, holding them close, and turning them into something new. You breathe without thinking, but plants, they breathe with purpose, and their breath begins with light. Light fuels a reaction inside the leaf, a reaction that turns carbon dioxide from the air and water from the roots into sugars, the very currency of life and oxygen, the breath you take in now. Pause, take a deep breath, hold it for a moment, now let it go. That oxygen came from a leaf, and that leaf's power came from light, and that light came from a star. You are connected to the sun in every inhale. You may not see the threads, but they are there, fine as spider silk, strong as time. Photosynthesis is the name we give to this miracle, but the word feels cold compared to the act itself. It is not just a process, it is a promise. That light will not be wasted. That light will become life. When you eat a fruit, when you taste a slice of bread, when you chew a leaf of spinach, you are tasting light. You are eating sunlight folded into matter. Photosynthesis stores the sun's energy in the bonds of sugar molecules. Each bond is a little memory, a pocket of warmth saved for later, and your body, your cells, know how to unlock that warmth. Your brain runs on it. Your muscles, your heart, your thoughts, they all whisper thank you to a leaf that caught the light days or months or years ago. Isn't that a gentle thought? That the light you feel on your skin is the same light that powered a seed, that opened a flower, that grew the apple you once bit into on a summer afternoon you barely remember. Photons become memories, they become motion, they become life, and though we call the sun a ball of fire, there is no flame in it. There is only fusion, only light, only energy waiting to be caught. You are not separate from that. You are not outside of that. You are part of the great catching, the great passing of energy from one form to another. The sun gives, the leaf receives, the leaf transforms. You breathe, you move, you dream, and it all begins again. Tomorrow more light will fall, more leaves will catch it, more sugars will be made, more oxygen will be released. Even while you sleep, the earth does not stop turning, the sun does not stop shining, and the leaves do not stop catching. Even the smallest plant on your windowsill holds a piece of the sun inside it, and that piece is not just light, it is time, it is memory, it is transformation. So tonight, as your eyes begin to close, and your breath grows slower, deeper, quieter, know this: you are resting in the light's aftermath, cradled in photons, caught by leaves you've never met, alive because light once touched a green thing, and that green thing turned it into breath. And this is only the beginning. The light touches more than skin. It touches the green, and what happens inside a leaf is nothing short of alchemy. It is time to drift into that mystery, to follow the light into the leaf, to feel what it means to see green, not just as color, but as work, as transformation, as the beginning of something miraculous. And so, your journey continues, into the green dot, into the gentle truth that a leaf is not just green. It begins with a small gesture, your hand reaching down, your fingers brushing the edge of a branch, and your eyes landing on a single, trembling leaf. It's simple, familiar, almost forgettable. You've seen millions like it, scattered across trees, rustling through wind, falling into gutters and gardens. But tonight, you stop, you pause, and you look again. The leaf rests in your palm like a soft piece of sunlight captured in green dot. At first, all you notice is its shape, oval, perhaps, or serrated like the edge of a tiny saw. Veins thread across it like rivers, spreading from the center. It is delicate, paper-thin, but it holds firm against your touch. Now tilt it toward the light. Notice how it gleams, not with shine, but with depth. The green is not flat. It is layered, breathing, humming with something unspoken. It's not just green, it's alive. But what makes it green? And what does green even mean? To your eyes, green is simply a color. But to the leaf, it is a choice. It is what it lets go of, and what it keeps. Sunlight, you remember, is made of many colors. All the colors of the rainbow combined together into white light. When this full light reaches the leaf, it doesn't keep everything. It absorbs certain colors and reflects others. Chlorophyll, the pigment that gives the leaf its green, absorbs the deep blues and bold reds. It reflects green dots, so the green you see is not what the leaf takes in. It is what the leaf sends. Away it is, the leftover color, the rejected wavelength, the one bounced back to your eyes. And yet, this green defines the leaf's life. It defines yours too. But let's go deeper. Imagine now that you are shrinking slowly, quietly, down past the skin of the leaf, down to the cellular level, down to the place where green begins not as color, but as function. The surface of the leaf is not smooth at this scale. It is a landscape, hills and valleys, pores and ridges, and beneath this outer layer there is a world of tiny rooms, cells packed tightly together, forming a mosaic of order. Each cell is like a room with a purpose, and inside these rooms are guests, organelles, floating like boats in a sea. Among them are chloroplasts. They are oval-shaped, like tiny green seeds, and they are everywhere, spinning gently, bathing in the sunlight that filters through. If you watch closely, you can almost see them move, not rushing, not bumping, just turning slowly, like dancers in a still pool. These chloroplasts are where photosynthesis happens. They are the green machines of the plant, quietly working day after day, light after light. But here is something you might not know. Chloroplasts were not always part of plants. Long ago, hundreds of millions of years ago, chloroplasts were free-living organisms, tiny bacteria floating in ancient oceans, who learned to use sunlight for energy. One day, they were swallowed by larger cells, but instead of being digested, they stayed. They formed a relationship, a partnership. The larger cell provided protection, the smaller one provided energy. Over time, they became one. The chloroplast became part of the cell, a merger not of force, but of benefit, of survival. Even today, chloroplasts carry traces of their independence. They have their own DNA. They divide like bacteria. They remember who they were. Isn't that extraordinary? That every leaf you've ever seen holds tiny memories of an ancient ocean, of a time when light first met life in a way that would change everything. So when you look at a leaf, you are not just looking at green. You are looking at history, folded into structure. You are looking at the descendants of ancient wanderers who chose, one day, to stay and make light into food. Inside each chloroplast are thylakoids, little stacked membranes that look like piles of coins. Here, the magic begins. This is where sunlight is absorbed by chlorophyll. This is where electrons are excited, where water is split and energy is made. It's the beginning of the photosynthetic chain, the place where light first becomes chemistry. It's quiet work, invisible to the eye, but monumental in meaning. You can't hear it, you can't feel it, but without it, the world would stop. Not just your world, the entire world. Photosynthesis provides nearly all the oxygen we breathe. It builds the sugars that become every seed, every fruit, every bite you eat. It is the foundation of nearly every food chain, and it all begins here in the green. But what does that mean, truly? To say that light becomes matter. Imagine sunlight as a currency and the chloroplast as a banker. The leaf receives energy in the form of photons, but it cannot spend photons directly. So it invests them, converts them into chemical bonds. Those bonds in sugars, in starches, in cellulose are how the leaf stores energy. When you eat a fruit, when an animal grazes a blade of grass, they are unspooling those bonds, releasing the energy that once came from a star. The leaf is the bridge, the translator between the language of light and the language of life. But it doesn't hoard, it shares, it feeds the stem, the roots, the flower. It offers sugar to the soil through its roots, feeding fungi and microbes. It breathes out oxygen. Into the air it gives more than it takes, and yet it never asks for praise. A leaf does not demand to be seen. It rustles, it turns, it falls, and in its falling becomes part of the cycle again. Even when it dies, it feeds something, it decays. Into soil, it nourishes new life. It leaves behind not emptiness, but possibility. So the next time you see a leaf, pause. Don't just look at the green, feel it, wonder about it, honor it, because inside that simple shape is a laboratory of balance, a factory of light, a memory of the sea and the future of breath. Every tree is made of thousands, millions of these, each leaf silent, each leaf alive. Together they form a canopy of breath, a whispering network of transformation, from the smallest houseplant on your windowsill to the tallest redwood in a foggy forest. The story is the same dot. Light becomes sugar. Sugar becomes structure. Structure becomes life. And it all begins with green dot. Now close your eyes. Picture a forest, not from far away, but from within. Look up, see the green ceiling. See the way the light filters through, as if the sky itself is made of stained glass. Each panel a leaf, each leaf a story. And in that soft light, in the hush between thoughts, let yourself feel this. That green is not a color, it is a decision, a transformation, a whisper of sunlight becoming you. And even now, as you rest, the leaves are still at work. Silently, they breathe. They catch light. They build. They give. And somewhere in that soft construction, a door opens, leading you deeper into the invisible breath of the world. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly, and again, softer this time. What you just did, the pulling in of air, the letting go of it, you are not the only one breathing out there. Under the quiet sky, a leaf is doing the same, but it does not rise and fall like your chest. Its breath is not shaped by lungs or ribs or windpipes. Instead, it happens through something small, so small, in fact, that you would need a microscope to see it clearly. But small doesn't mean simple or insignificant. Beneath the leaf's surface, especially on the underside, you'll find thousands of tiny openings, each one a kind of doorway, a living pore, bordered by crescent-shaped guard cells. They are called stomata, from the Greek word for mouth. And in a way, that's exactly what they are, mouths. Mouths that open and close, not to speak, but to breathe. You see, a leaf is not just catching sunlight, it also needs to gather gas, specifically carbon dioxide from the air, the raw material it uses to build sugar. But this gas cannot pass through the leaf's waxy skin. It needs a way in, a door taut, so the stomata open, not wide, not fast, but just enough, and in comes the carbon. It drifts into the air spaces within the leaf, where it will meet water and sunlight inside the chloroplasts, and together form something entirely new. But there is a trade. When a leaf opens its stomata to let carbon dioxide in, it also allows water to escape. This process, called transpiration, is like a gentle exhale of moisture. Tiny droplets of vapor leave the leaf and return to the sky. It's delicate work, balancing gain with loss, breath with thirst. The guard cells are in charge. These small, curved cells can swell and shrink, changing the size of the stomatal opening. They respond to light, humidity, temperature, and the time of day. They know when to open wide, when to narrow the gap, and when to shut completely, like closing windows during a storm. Imagine the leaf as a great hall with thousands of tiny windows, each one watched carefully, each one adjusting to the needs of the moment. Now, picture the breadth of an entire tree, thousands upon thousands of leaves, each covered in each pore taking in carbon, letting out oxygen. Each breath part of a larger rhythm. It's not loud, you'd never hear it, but it's happening all around you. In forests, in gardens, even in the single green sprout on your windowsill, you breathe. Out carbon dioxide, the leaf breathes it in. The leaf breathes out oxygen, you breathe it in. You are in a relationship, a soft exchange with every living leaf, and it has been this way for millions of years. Pause now, feel the air in the room, the subtle drift across your skin, the quiet filling of your lungs. Much of that air, the oxygen in it, came from leaves, from trees, from grass, from algae floating in quiet oceans. They gave it freely, asking nothing in return. Even as you sleep, they keep breathing. Their stomata open and close with the light, with the moisture, with the secret cues only plants understand. They are never still, but stomata are not always symmetrical. Not every plant arranges them the same way. Some leaves have stomata only on the underside, some on both sides, some in deep sunken pits to reduce water loss in desert heat. They are shaped by place, by history, by the needs of survival. In hot environments, stomata may open only at night, when the air is cooler and less water is lost. This is called photosynthesis, a special adaptation where the plant separates its gas exchange and its sugar making into different times of day. Even the timing of breath can be a strategy. The plant listens, not with ears, but with chemistry. And what about the carbon itself? The carbon dioxide a plant inhales may have once been exhaled by an animal, by a bird, by a child, maybe even by you. Carbon atoms cycle endlessly. They never disappear, only change homes. One moment in your breath, the next inside a leaf, then inside a tree, then perhaps in a piece of fruit, then back to you. The air is shared. It has always been shared. Each breath, part of a dance you never see, but always join. And this quiet choreography of gas, of opening of balance, is one of the oldest patterns on Earth. It is how forests feed themselves, how life keeps circling back, how your body connects to green things you may never touch or see. It's humbling, isn't it, to know that the leaf in your hand is breathing too, that its pores are opening and closing like eyelids, letting the world in and out with no sound, no fuss, no pause. The air that moves through you tonight once moved through trees, and leaves, and roots, and will again. We are not just surrounded by breath. We are made of it, and so you breathe, and the leaf breathes, and in the middle, the world continues. The next time you walk beneath a tree, or sit beside a patch of grass, pause and consider. There are thousands of tiny mouths beneath every leaf, each one deciding in that moment to open or close, to drink the air or save the water. You won't hear them, you won't feel their breath, but you are breathing it all the same. And as night falls, the stomata slowly close, not all the way, just enough. The guard cells relax, the rhythm slows, but even in the dark there is movement, there is planning, there is life, because in the next chapter of the leaf's story, light will return, and when it does, something ancient and bright will happen inside the very heart of the green. You are still, you are breathing, and light is returning, not the sudden burst of noon, but the soft arrival of morning, a slow golden unveiling across the edge of the sky. The leaves know it. Even before you open your eyes, they are already listening, not with ears, but with ancient memory. They remember what to do when light appears, within the quiet green of a leaf. The world begins again. Let's go inward, further than before, back to the leaf you held, beneath the skin, beyond the stomata, past the veins that carry water and sugar, into the cells that form its heart, and inside each of these cells, tiny, floating in the soft fluid of the cytoplasm, are the chloroplasts. You might think of them as small, but imagine a night sky full of stars, each one radiant, each one moving. That is what a cell looks like under magnification. A constellation of organelles, all with purpose, all with rhythm. The chloroplasts are the stars of this sky, oval-shaped, enclosed by two smooth membranes, and inside them a sea of green, a rich, dense matrix filled with folded structures called thylakoids. Stacked like coins in towers, these thylakoids form graina, each stack a stage, each surface a set for the great performance of photosynthesis. This is where the light-dependent reactions begin, where photons, tiny packets of sunlight, are captured, held for a moment, and transformed into energy the cell can use. Imagine the chloroplast as a theater. The curtain rises when light arrives. Photons enter like dancers, moving fast, carrying energy, leaping into the waiting arms of chlorophyll molecules embedded in the thylakoid membranes. Chlorophyll is ready. It sits there, day after day, waiting for this moment to catch a photon, to feel it strike, to let its own electrons rise. When a photon hits a chlorophyll molecule, an electron inside the molecule becomes excited, not in emotion, but in energy. It jumps, it moves, it is no longer where it was. It has been pushed into motion, like a bell rung in silence. That energized electron is passed along a chain of proteins, a complex system called the electron transport chain. Each protein accepts the electron, uses a bit of its energy, then passes it to the next. It is a careful descent, like stepping down a staircase of purpose, and as the electron travels, it does something remarkable. It powers the movement of protons, hydrogen ions, across the thylakoid membrane, from one side to the other. This creates a gradient, a kind of pressure, a difference. On one side, many protons, on the other, few. And when this gradient becomes strong enough, the protons rush back through a special enzyme, ATP synthase, a spinning door, a molecular turbine as they pass through. The enzyme captures their motion and uses it to build ATP, a small molecule that carries energy for the cell. ATP is like a battery, charged, portable, ready, and alongside it, another molecule is made, NADPH, carrying energized electrons to the next phase of photosynthesis, ATP, NADPH. Both are born from sunlight. Both carry the sun's gift deeper into the leaf's work. But for these reactions to continue, the chloroplast needs a constant supply of electrons, and so it turns to water. Water, brought up through the plant's roots, rises through xylem vessels, creeping upward against gravity, until it reaches the cells of the leaf, inside the chloroplast. Near the thylakoids, water molecules are split apart by light. This is called photolysis, the light-driven breaking of water. Each water molecule is divided into 2 electrons, which replace those lost by chlorophyll, 2 hydrogen ions, which contribute to the proton gradient, 1 oxygen atom, which joins with another to form O, released into the air through the stomata. This is the oxygen you breathe, born not from the leaf's breath, but from water split open by light. So when you inhale, you're pulling into your body a molecule that was once part of a droplet, held inside a plant, touched by the sun. You are breathing the byproduct of light's work, and what of the chloroplast itself? It is not just a container. It is a choreographer. Each reaction it coordinates depends on balance, sequence, harmony. The chloroplast turns light into electricity, electricity into gradient, gradient into molecules, molecules into energy. It does so without pause, without fail. And all of this is happening right now in every green blade of grass, every maple leaf, every algae bloom on the surface of a quiet pond. But pause here, let your breath deepen, let your mind picture the choreography. Photons arrive from the sky, leaping into the chlorophyll's arms. Electrons spring into action. Protons build up. ATP is spun into being. Water is pulled apart. Oxygen floats away. It is a dance older than any music you know, older than birdsong, older than the oceans, older even than bones. It began over 2 billion years ago, when tiny cyanobacteria learned to catch light and split water. They changed the air, they changed the sky, they changed what Earth could be, and now their descendants, the chloroplasts, continue that work in silence. They do not pause, they do not boast, they simply do. Photosynthesis is not one reaction. It is a series of symphonies, each note depending on the last dot and the light-dependent reactions. This dance in the chloroplast is only the first act, because ATP and NADPH, these small energetic messengers, carry their power forward. They leave the light-soaked thylakoids and enter the fluid part of the chloroplast, the stroma. Here, in the quiet green soup, the next chapter begins here. Carbon dioxide pulled in through the stomata, drifting through the leaf's air spaces, meets the energy made from light. It is in the stroma that carbon becomes sugar, that air becomes form, that the invisible becomes touchable. But that is the work of the Calvin cycle, a story still to come. For now, rest in the wonder that light, simple, traveling, golden can become electricity, that water can be split, that the sky can breathe. You are not watching this happen. You are living because it happens. The next breath you take, hold it a moment longer. Remember what it holds. Remember that chloroplasts, those tiny green dancers, are working inside every leaf you've ever walked beneath, that their rhythm pulses through the forest, through your food, through your blood, and that in their quiet you were born. And as the light outside grows softer, as shadows stretch across the ground, the chloroplast begins to slow, not stop, not sleep, but shift, because when the light fades, a new cycle begins, and in the night, the leaf does not rest. It remembers, it rearranges, it breathes in the dark. It begins far below the green dot, not in the sky, not even in the leaf, but in the soil, dark, cool, and rich with the memory of rain. Imagine a droplet of water, small, invisible to the eye. It slips between grains of dirt, past resting roots, and finds itself at the tip of something living, a root hair, thin and seeking. Here, the water is invited in, not forced, not rushed, but welcomed, absorbed into the root's tissue through osmosis, that gentle balancing act of pressure and purpose. The plant drinks slowly, carefully, and from there, the journey begins upward, through tiny vessels called xylem. Water climbs. It defies gravity not through will, but through cooperation. Molecules of water cling to each other, cohesion, and to the walls of the xylem adhesion. They form a long, unbroken chain. One droplet pulls the next, and the next, and the next. Each time a leaf loses water through transpiration, it tugs gently on this column, drawing more upward. The pull of a single stometer's breath can lift water from root to crown, so the droplet moves. From root to stem, from stem to branch, from branch to leaf, and finally it arrives. The cell receives it quietly, draws it in, holds it in the cytoplasm, delivers it to the chloroplast, where the sunlight waits. This is where the transformation begins. Inside the chloroplast, near the surface of the thylakoid membrane, is a powerful protein complex, photosystem II. It sits like a gatekeeper of light. Its purpose, to capture sunlight and use that energy to split water. Photons, light, particles arrive and strike chlorophyll. Electrons become energized and jump free. But electrons are not infinite. They must be replaced. And for that, the chloroplast turns to water. Water is made of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. H2O to split it requires energy, and sunlight provides exactly enough. This process is called photolysis, the light breaking of water. Here's what happens. The enzyme within photosystem II uses light energy to break apart a water molecule. From this single act, 3 things are released. 2 electrons, which replace the excited ones lost from chlorophyll. 2 hydrogen ions, protons, which contributes to the proton gradient. 1 oxygen atom, which pairs with another to form O. The oxygen you breathe. It's easy to miss how enormous this moment is. The splitting of water is the origin of nearly all the oxygen in Earth's atmosphere. Every breath you have ever taken was made possible by sunlight breaking water apart inside a leaf. Your body relies on oxygen. Your blood carries it. Your brain depends on it. And yet, you produce none of it on your own. You inherit it, a gift passed through time, from leaf to sky to lung. And that oxygen, It is a byproduct. The plant does not need it. It releases it through the stomata, letting it drift away, a waste. To the plant, but to you, life itself, isn't that something? That what you need most is what the leaf lets go, and the hydrogen ions, now free inside the thylakoid space, begin to build. They create a proton gradient, a reservoir of potential. Energy, later, these protons will rush through ATP synthese, creating ATP, the energy currency of the cell. But for now, they wait. Quiet, charged, ready, and the electrons, light-filled and humming, continue along the electron transport chain, passing from photosystem to 2, a molecule called plastoquinone, then down through cytochrome complexes, each transfer releasing energy, each step building the gradient further. Eventually, the electrons reach photosystem I, where they are excited again by another photon. From here, they are passed to NADP+, forming NADPH, another carrier of energy, bound for the Calvin cycle. But none of this could happen without that first step, without splitting water, without letting go of oxygen, without borrowing what roots deliver and giving back to the sky. The leaf takes water not just to drink, but to open a door. In splitting it, the plant begins a sequence that fuels forests, feeds animals, powers minds, and builds bodies. Take a moment, breathe in, feel the air, enter your lungs, feel it swirl behind your ribs, fill your chest, then leave again. Now imagine that molecule of oxygen, O, may have begun as part of a droplet of rain falling in a forest far away, drawn into a root, pulled into a stem, split inside a chloroplast by a flash of light, released through a stomata, lifted by wind. And now, here, inside you, you are breathing a story, and the plant, it does not miss what it gives. It takes the hydrogen and the electrons, uses them to build the molecules it needs, and continues its quiet work. Water in, oxygen out, light in, sugar out. The cycle is unbroken, and you are part of it. Without sunlight, water stays whole. Without chlorophyll, electrons never dance. Without stomata, the breath has no path. But with all of them together, a miracle becomes routine. Not loud, not rare, but everywhere, in every green leaf, in every pondweed, in every patch of moss on a rock. The splitting of water is the spark, and breath, your breath is the echo. So tonight, as you lie still, your chest gently rising and falling, imagine the water below the earth. Imagine it moving upward, slowly, guided by thirst and need and light. Picture a droplet pausing at the edge of a cell. See it held by the leaf's warm hand. See it offered to the sun. See it part quietly, powerfully, into 2 paths. 1 into energy, 1 into air, and the air into you. You are not separate from the plant. You are not simply an observer. You are breathing the result of its kindness. You are living because something green once chose to let go, and that letting go, that oxygen drifting through the air, is not random. It is rhythm. It is part of the pattern that connects you to every leaf, every blade of grass, every forest. Canopy, this breath you take now is not new. It has been through lungs before. It has brushed through leaves. It has circled the world, and it all begins again with water, light, and the gentle courage to be split. You breathe out. You do it without thinking, a quiet release, soft and unnoticed, and what leaves your body, drifting into the air, is carbon dioxide, CO. It is waste to you. It is no longer needed, but to a leaf, to the green that watches. Silently in the daylight, this carbon is treasure. It hovers in the air, invisible, ancient. Each molecule has been here before, part of other lungs, other leaves, other lives. It circles through time, not lost, only waiting, and the leaf knows how to catch it. This is where the second phase of photosynthesis begins, not in the light, but in the shaded green inside the chloroplast. Here, in the stroma, a gentle fluid, bath within the chloroplast. The products of the light-dependent reactions, ATP and NADPH, are used to turn carbon dioxide into sugar. This process has a name, the Calvin cycle, but names are only signposts. What matters is the story beneath. The name, a story of transformation, of assembly, of invisible threads being woven into something that lasts. Imagine the stroma as a quiet workshop. No flashes, no splitting of water, no spark of light. Only molecules moving gently, fitting together like pieces of an unseen puzzle. The Calvin cycle is often called the dark reactions, not because they happen at night, but because they do not require light directly. They use the energy made by light to shape what light cannot provide. Carbon. Let's follow this path. A molecule of carbon dioxide enters the leaf, passes through the stomata, diffuses through air spaces and membranes, until it reaches the chloroplast. Once inside the stroma, it meets an enzyme, one of the most important enzymes on Earth. Its name is rubiceo, ribulose 15 bisphosphate carboxylase. But names like that don't matter here. What matters is that it is the matchmaker, the assembler. It brings carbon dioxide together with another molecule, a 5-carbon sugar called RuBP. When CO and RuBP meet, rubiceo helps them bind, creating a short-lived 6-carbon molecule that immediately breaks into 2 smaller ones, 3-phosphoglycerate, or 3-PGA. From here, a series of gentle steps unfolds. ATP, made from light, donates energy. NADPH donates electrons. And through this quiet labor, 3-PGA is converted into G3P, a 3-carbon sugar. Simple, sweet, full of potential. Each turn of the Calvin cycle fixes 1 carbon. To build a full glucose molecule, Chukoke, the cycle must run 6 times 6 carbon dioxide molecules, dozens of enzyme steps, countless molecular touches, and in the end, a sugar is born. But not just sugar as food, sugar as scaffold. Because from this foundation, the plant can build everything. From G3P, the plant makes glucose. From glucose, it makes starch, cellulose, sucrose. It builds cell walls, stores energy, fuels growth. From these sugars come the flesh of fruit, the fiber of stem, the rings of trees, the petals of flowers, the seeds that fall and wait. This is how air becomes form. The carbon you once breathed out, discarded without notice, is now inside a stem, a root, a blossom, and perhaps, one day, inside you again. Because you eat plants. Or you eat things that eat plants. And in doing so, you take back the carbon you once gave. It's not a one-way road, it is a circle. The carbon atom moves from breath to air, to leaf, to sugar, to fruit, to mouth, to blood, to thought, yes, even. Your brain is partly made of carbon that once drifted through a field of wheat, or a leaf of lettuce, or a stalk of sugarcane. You are built from breath, not just yours, but shared breath. You are a collection of borrowed molecules assembled by time, shaped by chloroplasts. And it is this invisible work, the fixing of carbon that makes life on Earth possible. Without it, there would be no trees, no food webs, no you, the scaffold of the world is carbon, and leaves are the builders. But the Calvin cycle is not endless. It requires constant input, light, through ATP and NADPH, carbon dioxide, through air, water, through root and XYLEM. When one is missing, the cycle slows, and when light returns, it resumes. This quiet adaptability is part of the leaf's wisdom. It does not fight its limits. It listens, it adjusts, and always it builds when it can. What it builds may take many forms: a sugar today, a starch tomorrow, a cell wall next week, a flower in spring. But each begins with the same act, catching a piece of carbon and holding it close. You don't see the Calvin cycle, you don't feel it in the air, but you live because it turns. You walk through a world made solid by carbon caught from breath. Pause. Now look around, even in your imagination, the table, the paper, the apple, the chair. If it was once alive, it was once carbon fixed by a leaf. That leaf may have grown long ago, fallen, turned to soil, but its sugar became fiber. Its fiber became tree. Its tree became tool. Its form became memory. Every forest is made of breath held in place. Every petal, a shape that began as a whisper in the air. This is what the leaf does. It doesn't just catch light. It captures invisibility and makes it tangible. The invisible scaffold is everywhere, even inside you. The bones beneath your skin are made partly of carbon. Your cells, your muscles, your mind, the thoughts you think now are carried by neurons fueled by sugars assembled from carbon that once danced with sunlight in a leaf you never saw. You are the cycle continuing, and so is every breath you take. So the next time you breathe out, remember this: you are giving something back. You are feeding the next leaf. You are becoming part of the scaffold again, and far away, or maybe nearby, a plant is reaching for that carbon, not with hands but with stomata open, chloroplasts ready, Calvin cycle humming. It pulls your breath into its body. It binds the carbon with sugar, and it begins again. A sugar is born. A root will grow. A flower will open. A fruit will fall. And inside all of it, a single, ancient carbon atom that once belonged to you. And what will the plant do with that sugar? Where will it go? To the fruit, to the seed, to the root? Or perhaps, will it travel? Will it flow? Will it become part of something else entirely? Because what happens next is just as quiet, just as mysterious, just as essential. The leaf finishes its quiet work. Sunlight, carbon, and water have been gathered and reshaped. And what remains now is a molecule of sweetness, glucose, a simple sugar, small and powerful. This sugar is not a decoration. It is energy. It is architecture. It is memory, folded into chemical bonds. But the leaf does not keep it, like a message written in light. This sugar is meant to move, and so it does. Let us follow it, this single, invisible molecule of glucose, newly born inside. The green dot inside the cell. The sugar slips away from the stroma and enters the cytoplasm, the shared fluid of the plant's cell. There, it joins with others, forming longer chains, becoming sucrose. A transportable form of sugar. Sucrose is stable, it can travel, and the plant knows exactly where to send it. You see, plants have two highways inside them. One carries water upward from roots to leaves. The other carries sugar downward and outward, from source to sink. This one is called the phloem. The phloem is like a living river. Its walls are made of living cells, its current pushed by pressure, its direction determined by need. Some cells make, others receive. The leaf is a source. It produces more sugar than it needs. Elsewhere in the plant are the sinks, places where sugar is needed, growing roots, developing fruits, forming seeds, expanding shoots. So the sugar moves from leaf to stem, from stem to root, from branch to blossom. It flows through the phloem in a process known as translocation. But this is not like the flow of water in xylem. This is bidirectional, and it requires energy. The plant uses active transport, moving the sugar into phloem cells. Increasing the concentration inside water follows by osmosis, creating pressure. That pressure pushes the sugary fluid, called phloem sap, through narrow tubes down to the sinks. When the sugar reaches its destination, it is unloaded, stored, or used for growth, for metabolism, for repair in roots. Sugar feeds the cells buried in darkness. In seeds, it becomes potential, waiting, sleeping, dreaming of spring. In fruits, sugar accumulates, swelling the flesh, inviting animals to eat, to spread the seed inside. The plant gives sugar not just for itself, but for others. And you are among those others. The food you eat, a peach, a slice of bread, a spoonful of honey, is built from these sugars on the move. Every grain of rice, every bite of fruit, was once a molecule of light gathered by a leaf, transformed, transported, and offered forward. You are built from plant sugars. They enter your mouth, pass into your stomach, travel through your bloodstream, and once inside your cells, they are broken again, and their energy released. You live because sugar moves, but the plant's work is not just to feed. It stores. Some sugars are turned into starch, packed tightly into roots, tubers, seeds. This is insurance. A way to endure winter, a way to wait for warmth. Other sugars become cellulose, long tough chains that strengthen the plant's walls, build trunks, form bark, shape stems. A single glucose molecule, depending on how it's arranged, can become sweetness or strength, softness or structure. It is the ultimate shapeshifter. And though sugar is simple, its meaning is vast, because when it moves, life moves with it. In spring, sugar flows upward, feeding new buds, swelling flowers, awakening the tree. In autumn, it retreats, drawn down into the roots, where it waits beneath the frost. This rhythm of making, moving, storing is silent, but steady, and inside every plant. It never truly stops. Even in the smallest sprout on a kitchen windowsill, the sugar moves. The leaf makes, the stem delivers, the root drinks, the cycle turns. But sugar is not always sweet. It can be misused. In excess, it can burden. In imbalance, it can damage. But in the leaf's hands, it is measured, purposeful, fair, a gift given, not hoarded. The tree does not eat its own fruit. The vine does not keep its own grape. Instead, the sugar moves outward, to nourish, to entice, to continue. Even decay, in the end, is a gift. When a fruit falls, when a leaf withers, its sugars return to the soil, feeding microbes, fungi, worms, feeding the next generation, feeding the root that will one day make leaf again. And in that sugar, now moving through earth, not phloem, is the memory of sunlight, trapped, released, passed along. This is how life remembers itself. Through motion, you, too, carry sugars. In your blood, there is glucose. Your cells use it every moment, to beat your heart, to blink your eyes, to think this thought. And it all came from somewhere green. You are not just a body, you are a living summary of sugars on the move, carried in your breath, built into your bones, stored behind your eyes. The energy you will spend dreaming tonight was once a photon, caught by a leaf, woven into sugar, eaten, absorbed, delivered, released. Nothing is wasted. The energy does not disappear. It changes costume. It moves from sky to plant, from plant to mouth, from mouth to mind, from leaf to limb. So let the sugar move. Let it pass through roots and fruits, through veins and thoughts. Let it remind you that even in stillness, you are full of motion, that you are not separate from the plant's gift, you are the gift. Unwrapped by time, and still, the leaf keeps making, and still, the phloem keeps carrying, and still, the cycle continues. But what happens when the sun goes down? When there is no more light to drive the reaction? Does the leaf sleep? Does the sugar stop? Or is there something else that unfolds in the gentle hush of the night? The light fades, not suddenly, but slowly, tenderly, like the dimming of a thought. Shadows stretch, colors soften. The golden hum of the sun dissolves into blue, and the leaf, drenched in brightness just hours before, now rests in the cooling hush of dusk. But it does not sleep, at least not in the way you do. You, too, are preparing for sleep, eyes growing heavy, limbs relaxing, breath lengthening. The leaf seems still, but inside things shift. When the sun vanishes beyond the horizon, the light-dependent reactions pause. There are no more photons to catch, no electrons to excite, no water to split. But the leaf is not idle. It continues the quiet work of night. You see, in the absence of light, the plant moves inward. It begins to sort, to store, to breathe, to prepare. Much of what the leaf does now is invisible, not to the eye, but to the imagination. So let's step inside the leaf. Darkness changes the flow. The thylakoids fall silent. No more light, no more spark. But the stroma, where the Calvin cycle unfolds, still hums. If there are ATP and NADPH left from the day, the Calvin cycle continues briefly, using what remains to fix more carbon. But eventually, energy runs low, and the leaf, like a candle, dims. Still, sugars made during the day remain. These sugars do not stay in the chloroplast forever. During the night, some are converted into starch, a complex carbohydrate that can be broken down later, a storage form, a savings account. When the morning comes, the plant will return to its photosynthetic dance. But at night, it tucks away what it can. This is strategic stillness, a kind of trust in tomorrow. And while photosynthesis sleeps, another process awakens. Cellular respiration. Yes, plants do it too. They break down the sugars they have made, using mitochondria, the same as you, to generate ATP, the energy molecule. This is the leaf's night metabolism. It breathes in oxygen. It releases carbon dioxide. It fuels the tiny engines of its cells. Even in the absence of light, it is not a contradiction. It is balance. During the day, the leaf gives oxygen and takes carbon. At night, it takes oxygen and gives carbon. It becomes, for a few quiet hours, more like you. You and the leaf share this pattern, one of cycling, not constancy. Light and dark, inhale and exhale, activity and restoration. You sleep, but your heart beats, your lungs move, your cells divide, your memories rearrange themselves. The leaf is not so different. Even in darkness, it is alive with motion. Sugars are shifted, signals are sent. Growth continues, cell by cell, guided by inner clocks, not sunlight. Yes, the plant has clocks, circadian rhythms, internal timers that measure the day, anticipate the dawn, and cue different genes at different times. These rhythms are ancient. They exist in almost all living things, including you. It is why you feel sleepy now, why your mind begins to drift, why your body slows, because the clock within you is whispering, now rest. The leaf hears that whisper to dot at night, certain. Genes turn off, others turn on, proteins are made, enzymes prepared, messages sent from leaf to root, from root to stem. Even communication happens. Some plants release signals through their phloem, chemical messengers that tell distant cells how much sugar has been made, how much water is needed, where growth is to begin. The plant does not sleep. It listens, and above the leaf, the world changes. No longer flooded with light, the forest becomes soft with night sounds. Wind rustles the canopy, insects begin their music. Stars appear, each one a silent memory of faraway light, and still the leaf remains, not reaching but receiving, not producing but processing. Even the stomata respond in many plants. They close at night to conserve water, to seal the breath. But in some, those adapted to desert heat, the stomata open only at night. These plants follow CAM photosynthesis, a special strategy where carbon dioxide is gathered at night and stored for use when the sun returns. In this way, the leaf uses darkness not as delay, but as opportunity, because not all growth needs light. Some cells divide now, some roots extend deeper, some flowers prepare to bloom. Energy stored becomes energy spent. Transformation continues quietly, invisibly, completely, and just like you, who needs the night to heal, to sort memory, to breathe without demand. So does the leaf. Its silence is not stillness. Its darkness is not empty. It is preparation. Even the air around it changes. With the sun gone, temperatures drop, humidity rises, the rhythms of insects shift, the earth turns gently beneath the stars, and the leaf, for now, turns inward. The sugars made today will travel tomorrow. The water drawn today will nourish the night. The breath shared today becomes the breath returned, all around you. This cycle unfolds, and perhaps you feel it in your own body, this slowing, this softening. You to begin to drift inward. Thoughts dissolve, breath deepens. You enter your own kind of photosynthesis, not of light into sugar, but of noise into quiet, effort into rest. You are not separate from this rhythm. You belong to it. You are shaped by day and night, just as the leaf is. You are transformed by pause, just as the plant is. And when the night deepens further, when the darkness becomes complete, something else happens in the mind. You begin to dream, and while we may not know if leaves dream, if they imagine light or recall rain, we do know they remember. They change with the seasons. They respond to experience. They adapt. The leaf is not thoughtless. It is observant, and tomorrow, when the first photon touches its surface, it will be ready, not because the light commands it, but because the darkness prepared it, So rest now. Let your body become the leaf. Let your breath become the cycle. Let your breath become the cycle. Let your silence become the work. Because in this hush, there is healing, and in the night, there is motion. Even now, the leaf is building the shape of tomorrow. You've traced the journey of a single leaf. You've watched it catch light, split water, bind carbon, move sugar, and rest in the dark. But now, pull back, widen your gaze. The single leaf becomes part of a branch. The branch becomes part of a tree, and soon there is a forest. Not one leaf, not one plant, but thousands, millions, each one quietly breathing. It's easy to forget. Each leaf feels small, soft, silent, but together they shape the world. Breathe in that oxygen you draw into your lungs. It may have been made in a rainforest canopy, or a temperate grove, or a kelp forest beneath the sea. All across Earth, green things are inhaling carbon dioxide, exhaling oxygen, stitching molecules of light and air into sugar, into form, into future, and they are doing it together. This is not just chemistry. This is coordination. A forest is not just a collection of trees. It is a single, interconnected being. Each tree is a tower of breath. Each leaf a tiny lung. Each root a thread woven into the soil's web, and underground, roots touch roots. Through soil and fungi and signal, they exchange more than water. They communicate in the dim, rootlit world. There is a vast network of connection, a mycorrhizal network, where fungi partner with roots to share resources. Sugars move in one direction, nutrients in another. Signals about drought, disease, danger, ripple from one tree to the next. The forest listens. The forest responds. And above ground, sunlight falls like music. It dapples across leaves of every shape. Broad oaks, needle-fine pines, feathered ferns, each one catching photons, each one exhaling life in a tropical rainforest. 1 acre of trees can contain 80,000 leaves, each one photosynthesizing, each one releasing oxygen, each one taking carbon from the air. It may be quiet, but it is not still. This vast green engine shapes the very composition of our atmosphere. Without forests, oxygen would dwindle, carbon would rise, temperatures would shift, rain would falter, because photosynthesis at this scale is more than life support. It is climate control. It is planetary memory. It is balance. Even the clouds owe their existence, in part, to trees as leaves transpire. Losing water vapor through their stomata, they release moisture into the air. This vapor rises, cools, condenses, and forms clouds. Rain falls, roots drink, and the cycle continues. Forests help make their own weather in the Amazon. Scientists have discovered that large swaths of rainforests can create rainfall hundreds of miles away. One leaf cannot do this, but many together become powerful. They shift winds, they shape seasons, they cool the land, and they do it quietly. Now imagine yourself within that forest, not as a visitor, not as a stranger, but as a part of it. Your breath leaves your lungs. It carries carbon. The tree beside you drinks that carbon. It turns it into sugar. It builds a new ring in its trunk. You sit in its shade. You eat its fruit. You breathe its oxygen. You are not apart from the forest. You are an extension of its cycle. Even here, in your room, on your street, in your city, you carry the forest's gift. Your cells run on sugars that began in green places. Your lungs remember the shape of air made by leaves. Your body is the forest, rearranged. Let that be your comfort tonight, that you are not alone in your breath, that across countenance millions of leaves rise with the sun, open their pores, and begin their ancient labor. You may never see them, but they are working for you. Forests are not quiet because they are empty. They are quiet because they are listening. Each tree listens to water, to light, to the breath of its neighbors, to the pull of gravity and the whisper of the wind, and through it all it grows, from seedling to sapling, from sapling to tower, and even when it falls, it feeds the ground. It returns its sugars to the soil. It softens, it vanishes, but never truly disappears, because its atoms return. They are taken up by new roots, by mushrooms, by worms, by wind, and so the forest breathes in time, in growth, in decay, in rhythm. It is not a machine. It is a memory, made of leaves. Photosynthesis does not end with sugar or with breath. It ends with community. Every animal, every fungus, every microbe benefits from the carbon fixed by plants. They build upon it. They return to it. Even predators, even scavengers, trace their energy back to a leaf. A deer eats the leaf. A wolf eats the deer. A fly eats the remains. The soil reclaims the rest, and the cycle begins again. All of it drawn from light, from carbon, from water, from chloroplasts humming beneath the green dot. And when you walk through a forest, you are walking through an ongoing miracle, a slow-motion exhale, a planet remaking itself, leaf by leaf. Even your footsteps are part of the pattern. Your presence releases warmth, breath, life, and the trees receive it. So too does the sea. Phytoplankton, tiny oceanic plants, float near the surface of the water, catching sunlight just like trees. They perform half the world's photosynthesis. They are the lungs of the ocean, invisible, but essential. Without them, the ocean would turn still, the air would thin, and the balance would break. But they continue turning light into life in the open blue dots. So even if you live far from trees, even if you've never touched a rainforest, leaf, you are breathing their breath, you are drinking their memory, you are living their rhythm. Tonight, as your breath slows, remember this: your lungs do not breathe alone. You are breathing with the forest, with the fields, with the kelp beds and mossy stones, with the ivy on the wall and the grass between pavement cracks, and they are breathing with you. You, too, are part of the forest, even as you sleep in a room built of wood, even as you close your eyes beneath a roof. The leaf does not forget its place. Neither do you. And in the hush of night, beneath stars, beneath blankets, beneath dreams, you are held inside a vast breathing world that does not end at your skin. You belong to the exhale. You belong to the rhythm. But where does that rhythm go? If all of us trees and people and plankton are made of breath and built of light, then what is left when the breath is used, when the sugar is spent, when the light fades? Is there something that remains inside you still? Close your eyes. Let the breath settle. Let the body soften. Let the world fall quiet. You have walked through the green, through the leaf, the root, the sugar, the cycle. You have followed the light from the sky into the flesh of a leaf and out into the breath of a world. But this last step is not outward, it is inward. The leaf has done its part. The forest has given its gift. Now the light becomes you, because you are not simply an observer of photosynthesis. You are its continuation. What A leaf begins, your body completes. Every cell inside you is lit by a story that began in green. Your heartbeat is powered by sugars first assembled in silence, under sunlight, by something that could not speak. The fruit you ate, the grain you cooked, the air you breathe, all of it is part of the long unfolding of light into life. And now, that life moves through you. When you eat a plant, a slice of apple, a grain of rice, a spoonful of honey, you are taking in stored light, not warm to the touch, but still radiant in meaning. Your digestive system breaks down the sugars. Your blood carries them. Your cells absorb them. And inside each cell, inside tiny organelles called mitochondria, the sugars are turned back into energy. This is called cellular respiration, the gentle reversal of photosynthesis. Oxygen comes in. Glucose is broken. ATP usable energy is made. Carbon dioxide is released. Water is released. And you exhale, so the oxygen the leaf made returns to fuel your body. And the carbon you exhale returns to fuel the leaf. Round and round, gift for gift, breath for breath. You are not outside of this cycle. You are woven into it. It moves through your chest, through your thoughts, through the warmth of your skin. Even now, as you lie still, this cycle continues. Tiny mitochondria hum with quiet fire. They take the sugar made by a tree and turn it into the energy you need to think, to remember, to heal, to dream. Photosynthesis is not just an idea, it is your pulse. It is the reason your hands move, your eyelids flutter, your dreams unfold. It is light, remembered in motion. But there's more, because this process, this giving and taking, has been happening for billions of years before you, before mammals, before bones. The earliest organisms, cyanobacteria, began capturing light and releasing oxygen. They filled Earth's atmosphere until other life could follow. Plants evolved, forests grew, and then, somewhere far down the line, you appeared. You were never separate from that story. You carry it inside you, the carbon in your bones. It may have once rested in a fern, the glucose fueling your brain. It may have passed through a field of wheat, the oxygen in your lungs. It may have left a leaf just minutes ago. You were stitched from sunlight and time. Even your voice, the one you use to speak, to sing, to whisper, is powered by the sugars of leaves. So when you say, "I am tired," it is not failure, it is the slowing of light that must be caught again. When you say, "I need rest," you are asking to return to the rhythm, to absorb, to process, to remember. And when you rise again, you rise because the light inside you was rekindled. It is a miracle, really, that something so massive, a star, 93 million miles away, can send photons to your skin, to a leaf, to your mouth, to your mind, and each step of the way, the energy is transformed, but never lost, only changed, only passed forward. Sunlight becomes sugar. Sugar becomes breath. Breath becomes motion. Motion becomes memory. And memory becomes meaning. And meaning that lives in you. Because this story is not only chemical, it is emotional. To know that you are made from trees, that you are powered by something green and quiet, is to feel less alone. It is to belong. You are not apart from nature. You are not a guest in the forest. You are leaf-made. You are one of the places where sunlight became story. Let that be your lullaby tonight. That, within your cells, the sun is still shining. That every thought you think is warmed by light, first caught by a chloroplast in a leaf that never asked for thanks, and that breath you just took, slow, gentle, deep, was given to you freely by something rooted in silence, so you can rest, not as someone who steps away from the world, but as someone who carries the world inside them. You are the forest, dreaming. You are the leaf, remembering. You are the breath, returning. Let your mind drift now. Let the body melt into the bed. The pulse soften. Let the air come and go without force. You are safe. You are part of the rhythm. You are held by the same laws that guide the leaf and the star. And if you wonder, just for a moment, where you end and the forest begins, know this: you don't end. You continue, in root and rain, in sugar and song, in light remembered inside, the beating of your heart. And somewhere a leaf unfolds into morning, a tree exhales into sky, a child breathes, a photon lands, and you are there too.